Hey yo, I'm back. So, I actually have the knife now. However, I played for pretty much 4 hours. I realized I missed the Clockwork Castellan on chapter 6, so I speed ran through the game in assisted difficulty to get it. And then afterwards, it turns out I was in chapter 8, which was the last place I needed to get it. So I speedrun to get there as well, while still making sure I got every treasure I could, which I succeeded so far, and I still missed the lockpick in Red Mist Valley and shit, but a little sad, but there you go. I changed my graphics settings. I'm back to just playing in 30 FPS, and I lowered some of the graphics. It doesn't really matter how good the game looks to me. So I'm lowering them back. A little sad. I made sure the processing load was a lot lower, as well as the memory. I made sure it wasn't in the orange anymore, while still making sure the game still looks as good as possible. And I believe this were the settings I have are the best I could have come up with.
These settings seem to affect how much damage an enemy can take, how much damage they can do to you, flinch chance of an enemy mattering on the game, how hard it is to pair with a knife in the case of the RE4 remake, enemy aggression, and probably a lot of other things I don't know about. Item availability is one that's been popular.
Oh, sure, I should.
This is mainly for the Valhalla series. In the Resident Evil 4 remake, there are
Anyway,
three
yeah, I have the
difficulties
infinite
that are
knife
available
now.
to you at the start.
I sold
Assisted,
the
hardcore.
original
Assisted
knife,
equals easy.
since
The game helps you a
this
lot, basically.
knife literally replaces
Standard
it.
equals normal. This is usually the most fine-tuned experience, the difficulty the developers work the most on, and is meant for most players. The challenge is usually pretty reasonable. It's not too hard, but it's not too easy. Hardcore equals hard. Obviously, less ammo,
Here we
harder
go.
enemies,
I'm just
more
gonna
damage,
go.
you get the gist. The game does say you should play on hardcore if you're a veteran of the original, but I went with my gut and decided to play on standard, and I had a blast. The game is addicting, like, really addicting.
You know,
I want to make
I
videos
shouldn't.
about so many things in this game because they do so much right. From the soundtrack to the reimagining of whole areas of chapters, the smoothness of the pacing, everything in the game just kind of falls together like a puzzle. After I beat it on standard, I was rearing to go and keep playing, and I thought, well hey, because I beat it on professional in the original, it shouldn't be too hard to go from standard to professional in the remake, right? I was wrong. I was so wrong. I did not have fun. I played for roughly 40 minutes and gave up. I had enemies going from melee hit immediately into grabs. I was getting crowded a lot. This one enemy punched the air behind me and got a hit. 2 for flinching, right, Leon? Not to mention the amount of bullets or luck or whatever it takes to get an enemy to stun or flinch for a melee hit on professional. Feels like the enemies are just walking
Right, so
bags of
it
sand,
turns out you can go
popping
back
them
to
in the face,
save
and they just
once you
eat.
get
Also,
the
the
thingy, and
perfect
you have to,
timing
because
is very,
that tower
really hard
is
for
the tower in this place is only accessible by going back, and that's where the last Castellan is. You need to do you need to deal with the frickin' Gigante to get the last Castellan. I was missing, so no wonder I never got it. The other one in chapter 6, I was just stupid. It was literally just in plain sight.
Like, on Hardcore and Professional, the water hog is a fucking headache. Not to mention the bosses. Holy shit. Even on just Hardcore, the bosses are pretty fucking annoying. I thought that Salazar was the worst boss, but actually once you learn him, he's not that bad. Sadler, though, okay, fuck Sadler, he is the worst. I still don't know what to do during most of his fight, besides the basic shooting the eyeballs.
Right, let's go.
Half of his attacks just hit me, and
Yeah,
I
so
just
it
have
turns
to
out
eat
you
it, and
can
I've beaten him like
drop
6 or 7
down
times.
that side rather than going here immediately. There is staircases, so you can still backtrack.
Anyway, let's get
Oh!
to the attacks. Or the
I thought I
Mercedes
could
pack.
make it in time!
Games, I have a
There's
mental
a reason
thing
I
with
bought 3
difficulty.
first aids!
I call it the my fault doctrine. It's easy. I'm playing a game and that feels like it's my fault.
God
or
damn
the boss
it.
feels like
Me
it's
and my
fault.
goddamn
It's easy
impatience.
to deal with. Because If it's my fault, then it's my fault, and I just have to get better at the game. This isn't a perfect rule, of course. Even if something is really fair but really hard, sometimes something being my fault can only be so far. And I can still get pissed off if it's too punishing. That's just the way it is. I'm a human being. Something doesn't feel like it's my fault, though. It can start to feel like the game is broken, which is bullshit. As you increase the difficulty in the Resident Evil 4 remake, cracks start to show through in its design, I feel like. Resident Evil Village as well, but we're mainly talking about the 4 remake. The game is meant to have an action-heavy focus, but the harder difficulties lean more into this fight-or-flight design that some of the more survival horror movies. This doesn't work as well in an action focus.
No, I crouched, I swear.
I don't think the remake is all that scary, so it doesn't really help that much. On these higher difficulties, enemies barely stun or punch
Okay, I can't
you get
actually.
stun-locked a lot by enemies who are overly
You know, just
aggressive,
kill me.
and they do a lot of damage. Hitboxes start to get more wonky because of the aggression. It just becomes frustrating with all of these combined factors. Not to mention the lack of resources the game also gives you while making the enemies so much harder. It pinholes you into a certain way of playing that is challenging but isn't exactly fun with the way this game is designed. Or, like the original was on Professional. There isn't as much risk versus reward, you just have to play it very safe. This type of design can work really well in the slower-paced, horror-focused entries in the series, like the Resident Evil 2 remake, because avoidance and hoarding supplies and using them limitedly is built into the design. Running is an option in most encounters in the Resident Evil 2 remake, barring boss fights and things like that. Again, these problems mainly come out in the harder sections of the Resident Evil 4 remake. The parts where you're dealing with hordes of enemies or mass enemy set pieces are like mini-bosses, or even the bosses. Resident Evil Village had a similar problem for somewhat different reasons. Village is first person, and Ethan only moves a slight bit faster than he did in Resident Evil 7. The enemies on higher difficulties are incredibly mobile. Combine the enemy's mobility with Ethan's sluggish movement, the only defensive thing you have being a block, the restrictiveness of first person in the game, and the enemies being spongy messes that like to eat bullets like they're going out of style.
They are indeed pretty
some of the harder
spongy.
difficulties more frustrating than fun. You're just popping enemies over and over again and feel like you're not doing much. This isn't all the time in both of these games, but it's enough that it becomes noticeable to play them. As I played through the Resident Evil 4 remake and began to feel the way I do, I began to wonder to myself, the original Resident Evil was a problem on the high difficulties. I remember it being hard, and how hard was it really? Is it as difficult as I remember?
Whoa! I got shield bashed to death.
So of course, after playing the new game, I went back and played the original on Professional. I blew through the game. Yeah, I died a lot. Krauser was definitely the hardest fight. I'd even say his fight on Professional was just bullshit unless you cheese him with the knife, which I did. He deserved it. Fuck you, Krauser. On my Professional playthrough in Resident Evil 4, the original, I died a lot. This count is wrong because I got frustrated with the Krauser fight at one point. I probably died over 50 times. Overall, though, I'd say the original is way easier than the new one, even on the hardest difficulty. Of course, I had years of experience with the original, but even if I didn't, I still think it's easier than the remake is on the hardest difficulties. And I think a new player would have an easier time playing it too, besides dealing with the older control scheme. The original and the remake are, of course, very different games in the way they play, and you have to take that into account. The original uses pen controls with an over-the-shoulder camera and control of aiming that forces you to be still, stop and pop gameplay, as they like to call it. The new game has a full 3D movement system, like most modern 3D action games, and you can aim down the sight and move slowly while you do so. On Professional in both games, the enemies are more aggressive. In the original, they only take slightly more damage than they do on normal. They aren't bullet sponges, and are just as likely to flinch as they are on normal, opening them up to melee attacks. So crowd control is really easy, even on Professional in the original. This is not the case.
Whoa, it pierced.
Some enemies eat up to 5 shots before being stunned, and sometimes they just die and don't even take a stun. So if they are hurt, that's probably it for you unless you're really lucky or you're really good at parries, which I'm not. It's funny, but the enemies in the original also feel better telegraphed, even on the higher difficulties. Despite the remake having a parrying system,
Oh, there's a green herb.
the new more realistic movement actually makes it harder to kind of tell what they're going to do, at least for someone like me. In the original, they're so cartoonish and over-exaggerated, and that's not me saying they aren't in certain ways in this game, but they're also so spastic that sometimes it's hard to tell and you can't really get ready to do the parry.
Well, I have
The
the
original
thingy
game
as
was
well.
also incredibly
yeah,
generous
just-
with invincibility frames. Most animations from Leon's melee attacks to coming out of an enemy grapple gave you a bit of breathing room where you could take damage, usually like 1 to 2 seconds, which doesn't seem like a lot of time, but in a game,
Alright, I'm gonna ignore these guys just like last time.
Near as friendly in that
Fuck
regard
you
with
too.
invincibility frames. This is why you get stunned
Quah.
monsters come out of a parry only to get hit, or come out of a hit animation. The original also autosaves before most of the rooms, even on professional. So each room itself is the challenge, rather than enduring multiple rooms or a whole chapter from save point to save point. Some of the rooms in the remake are just somehow even more frustrating than the original. I used to think that the water hall, the double Garrador room, and the turret section in the original were difficult, but goddamn, they upped that shit times 10 in this game, and you don't even get the autosaves on professional. In the remake, they are so much harder that now, when I went back and played them in the original, I was like, oh, I don't hate these anymore, I hate them in the remake. I'll restate that I'm not a game designer, nor do I necessarily think the design is outright bad. But I personally feel like the Resident Evil 4 remake is at its best when it lets you enjoy the full breadth of its system, when it lets you engage with the combat in all of the ways it's fleshed out, letting
There you go.
enemies, getting
I was
parries,
missing all of
using
those shots.
knives, and having them react to shots. Avoiding enemies in tense combat situations in a game where the focus is engaging with tense combat situations isn't really fun. I think the core of the game wasn't built around them. Again, it's not the Resident Evil 2 remake, where surviving is
Too
more
bad I'm a
important.
quick fire.
The difficulty just doesn't feel as fine-tuned as it probably would have been in one of the more horror-focused entries. Enemies becoming more spongy that do more damage and having less resources in one of the more action-focused entries in the series just isn't as fun or exciting. I think it's an excellent game on the more balanced difficulties like standard or even hardcore to some degree, if you have adjusted expectations. I think the game just breaks a bit as you go up higher in the difficulties. I specifically want to point out hardcore because I think first impressions are important. I think telling players in the main menu that if you played the original a lot to play hardcore on the first playthrough is a bad idea, because there are so many new systems.
I agree.
It's so punishing if you don't know them.
Yes. A cannon. I hope it works.
My dad and brother both like the original Resident Evil 4, but decided to play on standard after my dad played on hardcore and found it too hard. There's just too many new systems in this game, and if you don't know how to play them, you're just gonna get your ass kicked. Alright, so I've said a lot of things already, but there's something else to take into account. I wonder what that could be.
Should have gone for the increased gunpowder. Should have gone for the increased handgun drop rate. I want
This
100
is where
bullets
things get
again.
interesting. Resident Evil for the longest time has had New Game Plus as a hallmark of its game design. After an initial New Game playthrough, subsequent playthroughs are usually much shorter, so they give you reasons to play through again and again, challenges to accomplish, costumes to unlock, and additional modes. The original Resident Evil 4 had a fantastic free-to-play incentive system. The Resident Evil 4 remake is just
Alright,
fucking
you son of a
god-tier
bitch.
free-to-play. Like, I'd say it's even better than the original.
Oh
Each time you
yeah.
play the game, you beat challenges, and each time you beat the game, you get ranking. These challenges and
Who
rankings
knew old
on
school
certain
artillery
items.
were still
These
so
could be
useful?
weapons like the unlimited rocket launcher or cosmetics for Leon and Ashley. And some of these cosmetics even have special buffs. You usually get a buff item for beating the game on its plus, which is the highest ranking, locked behind beating the game within a time limit or a time and save limit if we're talking the professional difficulty. These special buff items do not count against you when trying to complete challenges in the game, because they aren't seen as New Game Plus items. So you can beat the game on a lower difficulty, get an S+, and unlock a new cosmetic that would buff you and help you on a higher difficulty playthrough. And you'll still get the achievement for
someone
beating it.
lived.
So it's not really cheating. Got
The
the wolf
trick
tail
shot.
for getting an S+ consistent boom or melee damage. Use that on hardcore to get the chicken hat. Boom, less damage done to Leon.
Actually, I could have
On
just.
higher difficulties,
I
it
could
makes
still
a bit
go
more
back,
sense if you
actually.
take this into account, especially since you can still get achievements and challenges while wearing these buff items. This even
Man,
includes
there's some
bonus
treasure.
weapons
I
like the
should
hand cannon and
try
shotgun
getting
sweeper.
them.
They are seen as bonus weapons, not New Game Plus weapons, which are different things. So with that in mind,
Just
playing
once-
professional on New Game
once I
with no
go
bonus
past,
items
there's no
just
going
becomes a
back.
self-imposed challenge. You don't really need it for completion, but you can do it if you want to. Yes, there is an item locked behind it, but
Are you
there's no
kidding me?
achievements and things attached
It's
to
a
it.
locked
It's just,
chest.
do I want that item?
Where's the key for
I'll
it?
admit, I still haven't beaten the game on a New Game with no bonus items on professional. I've tried and I just get stuck in the village, but I'm going to keep trying. So I'm sure after that there are parts on Professional that aren't that bad and parts that get worse. I've watched content creators who basically confirmed it. I've beaten the game on New Game Plus Professional, which I also wanted to state there's no achievement for getting an S Plus on Professional, just hardcore. So maybe even Capcom thought it was too hard. With all that in mind, the problem becomes playing one of the harder difficulties earlier than you're meant to, or expecting them to be fair without these advantages. Not everyone is going to like that. Resident Evil Village, again, had a similar thing with Village of Shadows. That was meant to be played with New Game Plus items. Professional on this game doesn't even really tell you that, so I don't know what Capcom expects. Maybe they do expect that and they just didn't say anything. As I stated earlier, I don't think it's a really good idea to tell returning players to play hardcore in the remake because of how many new systems there are in the game.
There's no way to go back to the battlements after this.
If we look at all this through a positive lens, it just makes the original and the remake stand out against each other even more. Which I think is a good thing, because that means we just have two RE4 games to play and love as their own thing. Two cakes! The original is now going to be seen as the easier game, and the new one the harder. So having said that, I think the higher difficulties in Resident Evil 4 Remake and Village are unbalanced for multiple reasons. Any one of them could be the culprit. New Game Plus items are taken into account on higher difficulties, or the game is balanced for standard and they just kind of artificially take up certain figures to make the game harder on other difficulties, or they're trying to make it feel more survival horror-y and it's just not really working out, the same way as it would for one of the games that is more designed around that type of playstyle. Then, of course, Capcom has always just put out the difficulty with their games. Resident Evil 5 had a pretty notoriously hard difficulty, and Devil May Cry has the Dante Must Die difficulty.
Sorry.
I think a lot of this is just about setting expectations as well as balancing the difficulty. One last thing before we end this video. If you're watching this, there's already oodles of videos on challenge content done by speedrunners and other content creators. Speedrunners like White
so that's another
and Nancy
treasure I
Lowe have done some amazing content centered around the game. Beating the game with a knife only, getting under 2 hours on a speedrun, trying not to shoot the guns while playing.
Although,
a lot of people
like I said, I'm in no rush to get that infinite rocket launcher,
and
I'm not even sure I can use it on my new game Professional
and that it can't
difficulty
be beaten or
S
enjoyed on
plus
hard difficulty.
things.
I'm not
which I
saying this as an expert, I'm just a guy with an opinion. No damage runners like Carcinogen and SDA haven't
Maybe I
really
can still
enjoyed it
go
all
back
that much
here
because
somehow.
of the inconsistency in a lot of the areas, and the hitboxes and some of the other things, and I understand their frustrations. I also had the thought that maybe Capcom was making the harder difficulties in games recently, so punishing
if I explore thoroughly, I should have one key left over.
But that's really
by
just
the
a crackpot theory. Still wanted to throw that in here at the end though. So does Resident Evil have a difficulty problem? I think it really depends on your perspective. I think so, and I'd say if you're playing on standard, no. At least for the Resident Evil 4 remake. Funny enough, despite my complaints about Village's harder difficulties, I actually felt normal was a little too easy and just hard was a little bit too hard. There wasn't really a sweet spot of enjoyable difficulty. I'd love it if Capcom would have more high difficulty content like Madhouse difficulty for Resident Evil 7. I thought that was an amazing difficulty and I always cherished my time with that game. But of course I'll always simp for Resident Evil 7. It's like one of the best Resident Evil games of all time. Right up there with the 4 original and this remake. I'll keep trying to be professional on new game, but no promises. I'll let you know in the community tab if I manage it. This is a postscript. I'm recording this after I recorded the rest of the video. I watched the video today where a guy is kind of taking down the entire Resident Evil 4 remake. And I'm not going to name the guy, but you might be able to figure out who it is based on the points that I'm going to talk about. He talks about how this game is worse than the original in a lot of ways, and he makes a lot of points, and it's a lot of vague allusions to things like how older Japanese devs were based on arcade games and newer millennial ones. He talks about how millennial devs are just into trendy design and things like that a lot, and how this game's a mishmash and has no artistic integrity. And I even agreed with some of his points the first time I listened to the video, but the way he goes about it is he's just so obsessed with this idea that people are obsessed with remakes, so that's why they like them. I talked to my dad, who is a big fan of the original and this remake, and is more of an average gamer than I am. And my dad just likes this game. He likes the remake and thinks that it plays better because it does have modern controls. He likes being able to control Leon more fluidly, and I think that's a lot of people. And people are not bad for that. You know, this whole video I've made is criticizing the game's difficulty as it goes up because of some of the systems that this guy even criticized. But I don't think people are bad for liking this game for being realistic. And that's just a design choice that they made. And yes, it is more in line with modern games to make the game more realistic. Does it break it on harder difficulties? I think so. Does that make it bad that people like it? I like it. And I'll even criticize it. So no, I don't think so. I think they should have just thought more as they were designing the game.
I can't believe they removed the merchant in here.
I have to say, I understand if someone wants to give the criticism that this game includes a lot of modern game mechanics just to do it. I even had the same thought, but I don't think that makes the game bad. They weren't trying to reinvent the wheel with this. They were trying to make a really good remake for a modern audience. And, you know, on the plus side, a lot of people have been playing the original because of this. I might make a full video rebutting a lot of this guy's points. His video just kind of bothered me because I even agree and think about some of his arguments myself, but he just goes into doing these subtle attacks on people who like the game, subtle attacks on the developers, and I don't know if this guy's a developer. I even said that I'm not. So what does he know? You know, he's making all these grand statements about how older developers are better because they played arcade games and things like that, and it's just, it seems a bit, I don't want to say it seems a bit disingenuous, he just seems angry, and I wanted to add this at the end as a little postscript. Maybe I'll do a whole video on it if this video does well enough that people want to hear my opinion on that. I'm Ghost on Holiday, and remember that feet are just dreams that your legs have, and each step you take is an achievement that only a few moments before you could have only imagined. Good night, Bear Viewer. Sweet dreams.
Should be fine if I can't get this bolt back. I won't be able to get that bolt back.
They are neutral to physical attacks and resist all elemental, so I put everyone on conserve SP till Fuka tells them to use physical attacks only. I use my Rakunda first turn, though the AI will only target one enemy for whatever reason. Whoever they target, I put Korra and Aegis on assigned target and Ken on healer duty. Makoto's job is to heal with Mediorama, and if Ken has no one to heal, he will go for a normal Pierce attack. Now, these guys will attack with any elemental attack, and thankfully I managed to get Aegis a piece of armor that gets rid of her electric weakness. The worst that can happen is if anyone gets hit twice, especially Makoto, who has the lowest endurance. Sadly, we did lose our first attempt since it is possible for them to go for a multi-hit attack, and with the persona I was using being weak to wind, it knocked Makoto down, forcing him to skip his turn, and being unable to heal before he gets killed. So the second attempt, I went with a persona that has Mediorama and no weaknesses to any elements, and there's still a lot of luck here, as Ken does get killed 3 times during the fight. But the less Noble Seekers there are, the easier the fight gets. Once we were down to 1, I could use
the longer the icon of Sin stays on Earth, the stronger he becomes.
And raise everyone's defense, as now I can rely on Ken for healing. And thank God, because I was running low on SP. Thankfully, there was no multi-elemental attacks at all, so I was able to use Vile Assault on the last Noble Seeker to get a lot of damage in. 1 Vile Assault left, and we can move on. Next is 3 Carnal Snakes, and these guys are problematic and beyond annoying. They attack with Pierce, Fire, and while Koromaru is perfect for this fight, they also come with Fire Break, completely getting rid of Korra's nullification of fire. Physical is really the only way to go about this fight, so it's a matter of RNG whether or not we get insta-killed or killed with enough damage taken. Thankfully, Succubus has Resist Fire and All Dark, and she is terrible for this fight. And no, we cannot use Dreamfest again, as every Guardian after the Royal Dancers are immune to Charm. So after 2 failed attempts, I've used Oze at level 44 with a maxed out Full Social Link, so this should be my best persona. But just like the Hell Knights, this fight was brutal. Heck, this was probably far more hellish than the Hell Knights. So much so that I had to upload this as a video as well. So if you want to see the whole fight, the link will be in the description below, because I can't go into words how I went above this fight. These snakes are brutal.
They already got out. Oh god.
This on a 5, and completely unfair. Thankfully, they never go for Fire Break on a persona that resists fire, so only Core will begin the effects of Fire Break. I mainly use Ken to heal, I used to do Full Assault, and I put Koru on Conserve SP as he sometimes goes for Akidyne, which does practically no damage.
How does the
There's
dog have
no way
gunpowder?
to describe this fight, other than it's required to have a shit ton of luck, a lot of magic, and a tag beer so I can keep my party alive. And a few solas had to be used on this fight because they also
there's a
drained
turn
more
that I
than
missed.
half of my SP away. And to make these snakes even more annoying, they also come with Tetracard because why not? Thankfully, there is a way around this. I guess we'll skip our turn
Actually,
if
no.
Tetracard is active. However, by using the Rush command, we can force her to attack the enemy.
Ah!
Nullify and Pierce, she takes no damage, get rid of the
God
shield.
damn it, I thought they were
Later to
hiding and
fight,
wouldn't
they
come
can
out
use
for a while.
Papa Dune and Life Drain because life is pay. And while I can use Manrakukaja on Oze, the snakes do use Dikaja to get rid of the defense. However, this worked to my advantage. When there are two snakes left, I use Manrakukaja to get one snake to use
Do you like
Dikaja,
dogs,
while the other
Ashley?
either attacks or uses Fire Break on Goromaru. Once there's only one snake left, I keep spamming Manrakukaja so the snake does nothing but use
Why can't I
Dikaja.
shoot through the bar?
I have my allies wail in on the snake while
Oh, there you
Makoto
go,
and the
I
snake
can.
play a game of support skills.
Holy
This fight
shit!
took about half an hour and 4 attempts, but by God was it far more brutal than the Hell Knights. Next is the World Balance. It's neutral to all elemental and resist all physical. And the World Balance has all elemental, all insta-kills, and almighty. So this was a matter of both luck and endurance. Though in a mandatory battles only run, it requires a lot of patience. Unfortunately, fighting just one enemy doesn't automatically make this easier than the Cardinal Snakes. The first battle was lost simply because I was going in with no solid plan. The second fight was a loss because even at full HP, one Mickey Dolan is enough to kill Makoto. So
Let's
I've
see, if
used
I
the
can
highest
find
endurance
a
persona I
key
could get with Mediorama. Though because I'm weak to fire,
Somewhere
I
along the
equip an
line,
armor
that'll
piece
be
that I
proof
got
enough
from
for
Block
me
6
that I
with a
can
resist
go back
fire
to
burn.
the
A slight bit
battle
less
in
defense, but it's
the
better than
fortress.
skipping our turn while we're knocked down. The third attempt actually went really well. I have all of my allies on full assault, including Ken, who can only heal one party member at a time. So I buff everyone's attack first turn, then I used nothing but Mediorama while all of my allies attack. Korra and Ken will go for Elemental, and Ibis will go for Pierce attack. The only annoying thing is that the World Balance has such a high agility stat. There was lots of attacks being dodged. Now the big word for this fight is Makoto's SP running out, but thankfully once we get to the halfway point, this is when the World Balance starts to go with insta-kill attacks, which can sometimes give me a chance to restore SP onto Makoto, depending on who or if anyone gets killed. When Mega Dolan does happen, it barely kills everyone, but this does lead to one major problem. If it uses one Mega Dolan, Mediorama is not enough to fully restore Makoto's HP, and if the next attack is a Mega Dolan, well, yeah. Our third attempt was lost due to an outdated healing skill, and the best healing skill that we have access to at our low level. The fourth attempt, I lost simply because I forgot to equip the armor that resists fire. The fifth attempt, I used a cup card to up my persona's endurance, and stupidly saved right after. At first, this seems like it was going to go well, till it used Mega Dolan. 2 turns in a row. Yeah, I just wasted an extra 4 endurance I could have saved up for the final boss fight. So, I'm at a loss here. Do I just keep fusing until I get a high endurance persona with Mediorama and Divine Grace? Or do I just grind for some items that could help?
Let's do this without
Sadly, I only
I
have
got
one
this.
beat chain to work with, and according to the wiki, none of the common or rare chests on Block 6 have a bead chain. So, I have to make do with
God
beads
damn it.
and hope that Ken does some good healing. But, oh my god, every single
That thing's
time I
gonna come
come
back
up with
to
a good
bite me,
strategy,
literally.
the World Balance, somehow, some way, or another, knows how to kill us. 6th attempt, I used beads to heal Makoto while having some of my party members die in the hope
Should be
that we
saying
can
that
get
to
through this
you.
fight with a couple still alive or with Makoto only. However, we run into a problem. I kept using beads with Makoto, and no matter what, the World Balance would only use Mega Dolan. Yeah, there is no other way around this other than to die. So I lost the 6th attempt. The 7th attempt was our closest attempt as I give Aegis the Omega Drive in the hopes that she does some critical damage. And it only worked a couple of times. Our low stats still get in the way, but it can be useful for a knockdown tactic. Near the end, I came so close. So fucking close. And here, I used Black Frost with a magic stat of 99 and used Bufala.
God, that didn't hit actually. Oh god, here's the dog.
I really wanted to quit the run after that, but I am so close to the end, and I know it would be possible if I used up the cards that have been saved up. So I had to keep trying. The 8th attempt, I lose to nothing but Megidolons, and then I realized something. The world balance isn't actually choosing to attack with Megidolon. In some SMT and Persona games, if you take too long fighting a boss, it's actually possible for them to spam Megidolon at the end in order to end the fight quicker. Essentially, a big FU if you avoided grinding. So the real problem is our damage output, not so much the endurance. Now,
wait, what? No! No!
So I quickly with the RP Bracers, which is essentially a fire amp. And thankfully, Boost and Nap do stab. And I did the same thing with Ken, giving him
that
electric
actually killed me.
So I go in and see how this works.
Holy shit, it's really hot.
Yeah, the damage you'll see is definitely noticeable. I even managed to get one Rakuda in during the second half of the fight. Although my theory of the battle taking so long equals making Dolon didn't seem to be the case. It seems like the world balance actually only uses nothing but that for the remaining bit of itself. So we had to play this smart. Keep healed and get the damage onto this damn thing. Sadly, I used up my last speed chain, kept everyone alive, including Ken, on Fall Assault. Ken goes down, but I chose not to revive him and just went with a Salmon twice in 2 turns. Sadly, Aegis was not getting a critical on the world balance, but Korra was doing great damage. So after using 2 Somas, I took a risk against all odds of her agility. I equipped Black Frost, used the Gale Magatama, and some severe damage in, and
I'm gonna see if I can bring my full set
Aegis
back.
attacks, and Korra... We did it. Yes! Yes! We did it! Oh my god! Oh my god! Korra, you'll get a lifetime supply of treats, my friend! You are a good boy! This boss fight was brutal, but we made it. Ken sadly does not gain any EXP, but that just means more for the rest of us. And I gotta say, seeing Ken dead on the ground while the Judgment Social Link levels up is somewhat hilarious to me, but who cares? I am done. Next fight. Next is 3 Fierce Cyclops, because facing just one enemy wasn't brutal enough. They pretty much attack with Slash and Pierce, and sadly, we're limited by what we can attack them with, and our attacks are pitiful. But that's not the worst part. The worst part is dealing with 3 enemies, either doing Primal Force, which is a severe Pierce attack, or Mortal Flame, which does heavy Slash. The first attempt, I lost in 3 turns, and we barely did damage to the enemy. Attempt 2, I used the only 2 Berserker Seals I got on Makoto and Ken for high counter, and while it can trigger, it's heavily reliant on chance. 2 hits was enough to kill Makoto. Attempt number 3, I wanted to see what would happen if I used all the cup cards on one persona to get the highest endurance possible. The answer? Makoto takes more than half the damage and died literally first turn. So not even using the cards we've been saving up can save us. So what do we do? And the answer is, good fucking question. I have no idea. Even if we were able to grind a ton of attack mirrors from Golden Chest, our physical barrier is only useful against 1 enemy, and we have 3 of them. Any skills I need, like full party healing and buffs, can only be efficiently used if
Fuck
my
yeah.
other party members had them. And after looking at how the other challenge runners got through this fight, the answer is simple. They grinded to a high level to make it possible. Something we can't do. And there's no bosses before the Fierce
Oh,
Cyclops
I
to level
forgot
up.
about the bolt
No
throw
fusion
window.
spells can help. Having 99 attack mirrors means nothing.
Almost.
And using all code cards
yeah.
on a persona is worthless. And honestly, I think this is where the run ends. I wish I was joking, but I cannot see any way to get past this fight without grinding or getting better skills in my party members, or at least have better party members to begin with. Otherwise, I will have to say the heartbreaking truth: no, you cannot beat Persona 3 by doing mandatory battles only, even on easy difficulty. Alright, now that I stated that it's impossible, time to record some extra footage of me using an attack mirror and use the Gear Makala to repel the slash attacks and wait a minute. They mostly go for slash attacks? Huh. Okay, so after a bit of testing, I found out that if I equip Gear Makala, I can reflect most of the damage back at them. Keyword being most. If 2 Primal Forces or a Mazionga is followed up with Primal Force happens, Makoto is dead. Now, I could use High Counter for a chance to repel
Yikes.
Primal Force back, and despite it being a 50% chance, I think our luck stat also plays an effect on how likely High Counter will go off. Though, correct me if I'm wrong. Seeing this, I realized that
I don't
this
think
fight
this is worth
might
it.
actually be possible to pass. Sadly, I've never got past
I don't
one
have any
enemy in
space.
any attempts I've done. So, I think I may need to use all of my cards on Gear Makala, or at least any endurance, agility, luck, and strength cards. And if I just rush, I can use Pierce attacks on the Cyclops with the lowest health, as Pierce is the only physical attack they are neutral to. So, I need to think. How can I get past these guys? Do I have to grind for a bunch of attack mirrors and use all of my cards on Gear Makala? I'm not sure, because it's a big gamble since I was intending on saving these cards for the final day I face Nyx. Well, the only way to face Nyx is to go through this fight, so this fight is my main concern. So, that's what I did. I used up all of my cards, minus the 1 cards on Gear Makala, raising the luck, agility, strength, and endurance as much as possible. Obviously, I don't save in case this doesn't work, but we go in and go with the same strategy as before. Assign the same target for all of our allies, repel as much damage as possible, and hope that high counter triggers off of Makoto or Ken, or counter strike off of Koromaru. At some point, I switch Ken to healing so he can revive or heal allies, so that way I can keep the damage constant. Once all of our allies died, I just used the rush command to have Makoto attack the enemy with the lowest health while I repel most of their damage. If Primal Force hits, I take the turn to use a beat. Thankfully, the cards I used helped a lot. There were a couple of hits where Makoto could have been killed, but managed to evade a lethal attack, and once the enemy went to last resort after I got hit with a Primal Force, I was worried at first, but Makoto came in clutch and dodged the explosion. As I was dealing with the last 2 Cyclops, I revived Ken so that way he could heal and revive everyone else, and everyone else was assigned to attack 1 enemy only. We slowly take down the second enemy before it goes for Last Resort, and apparently, Last Resort does a fixed 50% damage as Makoto doesn't die from the explosion. So now it was just dealing with 1 Cyclops, and once it went for Last Resort, everyone except for Hygus lived. And wouldn't you know it, this fight that seemed impossible at first is actually possible thanks to Gear Makala and the cards we've been saving up. So this run is still going. And now, we reach the final guardian of Tartarus, the Jotun of Grief. This guy is a problem because he drains every attack except for Pierce and Almighty. The way this fight is supposed to go is that your allies use their elemental break skills in order to get damage in on the enemy for 3 turns. Sadly, that's not an option for us. So I need to make sure that everyone is equipped with the best Pierce weapon, and since Koro only attacks with Slash and Fire, I have him set on support so he can spend his turns casting Tsukikaja on us. Now, Slash and Pierce, we can deal with. The Jolton can enrage our allies, but if he does this on an ally with a pierced melee weapon, it can actually be a blessing in disguise since they will attack twice. Though be mindful, as Goro on healing and support will use a Disrage on any party inflicted with rage. And you don't want Goro inflicted with rage as slash
Damn it, I
attacks
forgot about
strength.
the snake again.
But the biggest worry is Megidolon. Now, we're at a point where we can mostly endure the attack, but after 5 attempts at this fight, I realized there's one major problem, and I just have to show it.
Well,
Oh yeah, we receive over 400 damage and be at 100 hit points below max health. One Mind Charge Megidolon is a guaranteed kill, and we have no cut cards to save us. So, this is where the run ends, right? Well, being the guy who did all of Persona 4 Golden damage list, there is actually one way to avoid an almighty attack, by having Makoto evade it. No amount of defense will save Makoto, but a high agility stat could work. So the plan is to take a Persona with Sakuna or Masakuna to decrease the Jotun's agility, and get that Persona's agility to the stat of 99. How do we do that? By spending the entirety of January playing Bullwhackers, of course. So I return back to reality, and quite honestly my favorite chapter of the whole game. Sad music is playing, but it's arguably the best music in the game. I love the atmosphere and tone here, and it's honestly better than the tone set in Persona 4 and 5, or as effective as they were. It just sucks that I'm using emulation speed-ups through it, as I have Makoto spend his remaining days not with social links, not with Aegis, but passing time at the arcade by himself. Yeah, something about this feels incredibly wrong. But as you can see, I maxed out some of my Persona stats, including the Persona I need to dodge the Megidolon attacks. So, with the final day spent, we get 2 homunculuses from the antique shop, as it's literally the only thing you can buy from here throughout the run. We get a lifetime supply of revival beads and medical powder, and with no Tanaka to get me out of fighting Nyx, we jump into the final day where the tyrant status is permanently neutral. Not that being tired has ever been a problem for us anyway. So now, with better agility and strength, let's see if we can defeat the final guardian of Tartarus. Now, thanks to all our Mulwhacking and punching games, it's far more possible than it was getting through this fight. But that doesn't mean we're out of the woods. Even with our agility buffed, his agility debuffed, and us equipping a level 99 agility persona, Megidolon can still hit us. Just because we decrease our chances of getting hit does not mean we won't get hit at all. After 2 failed attempts on my own, I decided if I'm going to get through this fight without rage quitting the run altogether, there's only one thing I can do to maintain my sanity. I had to stream it. Now, even on stream, this took so many attempts because sometimes the Jolton of Grief will save Megidolon for later in the fight, but other times he'll just start off with it for no reason. So it's entirely RNG what he will go for, and entirely RNG if we can dodge the attacks. Sadly, a good majority of my turns is spent on trying to keep Makoto alive, and as much of my party members as I can alive. And because we're going between buffs, debuffs, healing, power charging for our strong pierce attack, and use of the rush command on Core to avoid him using Disrage on any of us inflicted with rage, the entire fight is just pure luck. And sadly, the majority of attempts either end because he kept spamming Megidolon, or we couldn't dodge that one Mind Charge Megidolon attack. After more than an hour of attempts, we got a turn where multiple of our Pierce melee users were being inflicted with rage, and this was a great opportunity to get a lot of damage in since we attacked them twice. Now, the worrying factor is that anyone inflicted with rage will take a severe amount of damage if hit. But on the upside, even if they are in rage, it is possible to get criticals and have them aid in all out attacks. And, well, I just gotta show this. Is this challenge possible in SMT3? Well, yeah, if you watch the Arlie, he actually did a whole mandatory battle-only run for SMT Nocturne, where he played the entire game on merciful difficulty, and he actually did prove it's possible. Wow, you're actually not using a discharge. Good boy. Was Makoto power charged? Okay, Makoto might get instantly killed if we're unlucky. No, we're not unlucky. Good, good. Okay, let Koru attack here. Good. Now go. No! I mean, at least he gets up, but fuck, that's the worst time to fall. Holy shit! Oh my god, if I get hit, that's
I'm gonna go back and
no,
save.
guys, no! Oh my god, this is it! This is it! Yes! Oh my god, please! Win this, guys! Oh my god! Oh my god! Yes! Come on! You can do it! Come on, Ken, attack! Good Ken, attack! Eh?
Good Ken.
Yes! Oh my god! Yes! Oh my god, we did it! Everyone's standing too! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Rage! Rage is what saved us in this fight! And what did I tell you guys? We did not level up a single level. This took an hour and a half of streaming and 9 additional attempts to finally get a successful attempt. So I had 15 failed attempts, which may not sound like a lot, but sometimes the fight can take anywhere from 5 minutes to 15 minutes, and the successful attempt took 10 minutes. This was a battle of agility, luck, good use of tactics, and a negative ailment working to our advantage. This was without a doubt the hardest boss fight, but definitely a fight I would not blame anyone for rage quitting on. But we finally did it. We have beaten all Guardians of Tartarus and maxed out the Judgment Social Link. But there is still more fights to go. Jin is up next, and the only thing to worry about is making sure that Koru doesn't attack with fire since Jin repels fire. Now, the way that Jin works is that he targets our weaknesses and mostly attacks with multi-attacking skills. Using a persona weak to electric was a bad move on my part because I couldn't get Makoto up until he was able to get a lucky dodge when he was close to dying. But then, I found the best method for this fight. I equipped Black Frost, who is weak to light and has decent buffs, debuffs, along with a 99 magic stat, so for every turn, Jin only attacks with light damage. Since you're more than likely to not get insta-killed than attacked with a regular attack, this is the best option as the homunculuses can save Makoto even if it knocks him down, and Ken, who's our main healer, cannot be touched. So I just stick with Black Frost throughout the whole fight.
Oh, God
now,
damn it, Ashley.
Strega in general has the reputation for being the easiest boss fights in the game, and yeah, that is true here. Only now, in a mandatory battle-only run, we see it become the longest fight you'll ever see against Jin and Takaya. I kid you not, Jin, who usually takes about a few turns to take down in a normal run, took about 18 minutes in total. After we defeat Jin, we level up to 46, and we can now use both Haigus and Koromaru for Mazukukaja. We depart with Jin, helping him discover the error of his ways, and realize that he can become a more complete individual. Or less complete. Anyway, the fight against Takaya is a slight bit harder, but still pretty simple. The only worrying factor is when he uses Mind Charge, as he can either go for Baby Doma or a heavy elemental attack. But thankfully, he's just too weak compared to the last Tartarus Guardians we had to face. I had to deal with Ken getting KO'd numerous times in a row during the fight, which I think he just has a vendetta against Ken or something. But after 26 minutes, I kid you not, it really did take that long, we finally defeat Takaya and level up to 48. And now, the only mandatory boss fight left in the game is Nyx herself. So before we go and fight her, let's have a final look at our party members. Junpei is at level 9. Yukari is at level 18. Akihiko is at level 24. Mitsuru is at level 25. Ruka is at level 48, so the same level as the protagonist. Aigus is at level 49. Ken is at level 50
And,
and sadly did not learn Mediorama because, of course, and Koru is at level 51 and barely learns High Counter. So, with the latter 3 party members joining us in the fight against Nyx, and level 48 being the minimum we can get to in a mandatory battles only run, we're gonna face death head on and show Nyx who the true final boss is.
Cheese whiz!
And then he hermitcrafted everyone.
Right.
Welcome to the Hermitcraft Recap. My name is Pixelritz. Our writer is Gloy XP. Captions on this
Make
video
sure we
were
don't miss
provided by Megara.
this
And if I
time
sound a little
around.
different today, don't worry, I haven't gotten sick. But unfortunately, my PC has, so temporary recording setups ahoy while it's at the workshop getting fixed up. But at least it ain't full of dragon eggs, which is more than we can say for the Hermitcraft server right now. Hopefully the server host has some good refrigeration for all these eggs and the havoc they are currently causing, because we're a little worried what might happen if any of them hatch. But the other thing that's being hatched is plans, so let's take a look at all the events and mishaps that occurred on the Hermitcraft server this week. Starting with XP Crafted, who is more occupied with containing rare creatures than unleashing them on an unsuspecting theme park. His own animal attraction, the zoo that is, gains a camel exhibit with his own miniature take on a desert biome, complete with its most recognizable structures, the Desert Pyramid and Desert Well.
And my thought was that camels, as far as I know, are not really prone to, attacking people, so I'm not as worried.
After spamming it with dead bushes and making sure the perimeter fence is camel-proof, he moves the dromedaries into their new diorama dormitory, and they settle in quite nicely.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
That's not the only long-collared camelid he's willing to stick his neck out for, since he borrows a Llamadad card from iJevin's collection of TCG expansion packs, but later clarifies he's done a deal, exchanging him for an evil ex. After all the groaning and grunting of camels and sniffers, iJevin's redstone sounds much more pleasant between the crackling of the furnaces and the rail ASMR to help you sleep. The Tudor-built tavern he's built has given a purpose, and also central heating. iJevin installs a super smelter into the ground floor with convenient input and output circuit. It's the smithy now, though it can also be the bakey if you're so inclined.
Anyways, I want to do some more detail on the interior now, so I'm going to do this.
The running of False Symmetry's Elytra course reminds him that the firework rockets are nice to have, and Jevin designs his own unique creeper farm to supply any future sky races and neighbor excavation.
This farm is different because we use looting now. We're getting consistent drops. There's a bunch in there. Let's go kill them.
His actions are much Pixelritz approved also when he discovers the rare cluster of 2 Deep Slate Emerald ores to resell Cubfam 135. Cub seems thrilled about the mineral, as it's the last thing needed to complete his geology section at the museum. For someone who held a world record in speedrunning to get all the minerals, this might be the slowest he's ever done it. The biological specimens take more effort due to the sheer variety and robustness of them, but eventually every kind of guy is in, just in time for Azuma to come and breed up his own camels and complete the 2x2 advancement.
Why won't you go in, Camel? Go in! Oh my god, Camel,
Let's
you're
wait
so
for the hand
fat!
cannon though.
Why is the Camel so fat?
Also of note, Cub managed to dig up the original Remove King Claim notes Grumbot dispense, in case they ever need to, well, remove King and claim someone. Till then, the last royal bloodline is immortalized at the Crassel exhibit front and center. And the museum now provides an abridged version of the Total Chaos minigame experience, which, yes, is just a box that kills you.
The coolest thing about this is that
You know what,
this
let
is
me
actually
check the Killer 7
on its own.
upgrades.
Dripstone regrows, albeit extraordinarily slow.
Well,
I'm sure it looks pretty good too. Get this.
Crossing your
Yeah,
T's,
looks pretty good
dotting
as well.
your I's.
By comparison, the competitor offers jam sandwiches, or at least that's how we can interpret this installation made with a variety of custom heads and armor stands.
God, this is so
So
hard choice.
I need a picture.
This is amazing,
Little sushi bits.
Whatever project Zombie Cleo had that for got sidetracked quite severely by there appearing to be a Keralis. This is actually the first upload from the
Why
Hermitcraft
not?
server Keralis has done since the recent Minecraft update, though not the first time we've seen him on the show, last appearing to have his butt handed to him
1.05
by
is
XP
very
Crafted
good.
in a TCG duel. Butt in hand, Keralis is found in Beast TCG Arena, and Cleo is all too happy to play Carpenter and rebalance his deck, if not build him a new one. With their help, Keralis can face his next adversary and use his training with Zombie Cleo to masterfully defeat Zombie Cleo. TCG Season 2 has some turns, I tell you.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. 10 ammo.
Congratulations.
Very good, I'd say.
Technically, it's letting me win, I guess.
Win.
They're helping hands do an appearance in Gemini Tay's videos as well, alongside Joe Hills, who has been streaming a lot but not quite uploading episodes lately. As such, it's refreshing to see him on the show again. This time they're here for the Hermits Helping Hermit initiative, the hermit in question being Gem, holed up at the root of her Grand Cherry Yggdrasil, doomed to witness the update that adds actual cherry trees to the game.
Are you
For a
planning
year
on
now, I've
murdering
been playing
with
on the
it?
Hermitcraft server and building up this. And of course, I added a cherry tree. And accidentally predicted the update. That is my bad. I didn't mean to do that.
Well, thanks to the help, the big one is updated with new leaf textures, and then the entire elven town underneath it is outlined in cherry planks to balance out the top. Also, every street is doused in petals and leaf blocks for atmosphere, much as it is filled by pollen from the whole experience.
I do know, however, that I want so much pink. So much. Oh, I love this update so much.
But over at Scarland, the forecast is promising a downfall of 2 to 4 blocks of egg.
What the hell? The horse is attacking me! What the heck is going on? What is this?
We haven't gotten much into it last time, but once blown up by Doc one too many times, Grian, Mumbo and Good Times with Scar form a coalition titled Buttercups and set up an adorable pink camp at the edge of Doc M's base.
Although, actually,
The
I
idea
don't
being
think
that
I'll need the
Buttercups are
LE.
very much poisonous to goats,
So-
and so Scar sets off right away making poisonous cookies, while Mumbo attends to some more ambitious retaliation, which only
And
outlines to Doc
safety.
exactly whom to roll up into, well... And Scar actually gets away easier than his co-conspirators, since the part of Scarland he wants to build in is at least flat and can be cleaned up with pistons. In theory.
The night before, there we go, put that down, and bam. Oh no! They don't get pushed with slime.
In practice, he just spleets the clutch under the city, then paves over the issue by expanding the town square in between the TCG theatre you can't go into and the town hall you can't go into.
I love these things, don't know what they're called, but they're great, and we need to use more of them.
Rendog denies all responsibility. This is not the kind of server that pranks, he says. But of course, he said that before the egging was committed, so perhaps he'll want to rethink his stance.
Right. And the plan is to put the balls, we're gonna put them right in their face. I just get
At least he'll have the record store built to lay low in for a while and give him something less dangerous to do than hang out with Doc M. And it's lucky some folks are keen to provide fireworks to the entire server, because this prank ends up with Ren burning them a stack at a time.
I just burnt up all my rockets
Good
in
enough.
one go, dude. You gotta remember to turn the button off. Yeah. It's impossible. I saw him last time with them. He did it again. So annoying.
At least fireworks are disposable, unlike the priceless artifacts Ren has been keeping around since the days of his kingship. And to properly commemorate them, as well as paying tributes to the new king and a former loyal subject, Ren takes a tour of Zombie Cleo's Royal Museum and hands over the authentic Crown of the King, along with the original disc copy of Good Times with Scar's Hot Guy audition tape.
And I know you were really stressed at the time, and like part of this was like me going, actually, Ren didn't remember a lot of the stuff that we've done. So,
I really didn't. Honestly, it's just a
no,
player.
activity
It's been
to show
amazing.
that you are appreciated.
This is one of my happiest evenings this year, so thank you. I'm right now.
With those royal giblets
Don't
donated,
make
he
more
resists any
submachines.
further attempts at bargaining, planning instead to stoke the fire of rivalry between Cleo and Cub by trading off artifacts to each one of them. Speaking of bargains, Mumbo logs in to find more eggs than he ever bargained for. Feeling like he'd better keep his head down for a while and not mess with the perimeter, Mumbo goes mining for deep slate, surely an innocuous activity that will not get him into trouble.
I literally think someone came here to collect deep slate. They couldn't be bothered to dig down, so they just came into the corner and thought you wouldn't spot anything. So. What is going on here, man? Like, people are like... Oh, here we go.
And it's all for the sake of his newly rebuilding base, which gets the first wall of the first segment and is already looking like the futuristic industrial powerhouse he was imagining all along. But he can't resist checking if he can telerank Grian with the Dragon Egg, and yes, Grian still crashes
Although
any
you
time
this
falling
last
entities
grenade
happen
I
within
have.
range of him. And instead of weaponizing this against Grian, Mumbo instead tries to copycat to dodge out of cleaning it up himself. The Hermitcraft equivalent of faking an illness to stay home from school is actually pretty hilarious.
Wait,
You reckon that was convincing? I don't know how long I should leave it before I got back on the server.
I should have had that unlocked by now.
So
Whatever.
you're the only one
I'm a
that has
small
to...
brain, but I'm picking up what you're throwing down here.
So yeah, so you have to do all the clearing up, you know.
Wait, I felt something strange inside my pit of my stomach. Hold on, look, watch. Oh my gosh, look. I'm crashing too.
But sooner or later they have to face the music and they wonder how to mess with Doc. Settling on the Pacific Rim School,
Wow.
we get the giant robots to fight.
Like fire dispensers as it's going, it's like.
No, I can't move dispensing. No,
Every time Scar makes a suggestion, we shoot it down.
You just come up with better suggestions. They're all terrible.
I'm doing my best over here.
So don't be surprised if Doc M basically ends up building Mecha Godzilla at some point. Mecha Godzilla, perhaps. He's already started with Mothra, and we guess son of Mothra.
Okay.
There are two butterflies built at suspiciously precise points above the perimeter.
Wait, there's another one? Wait a minute. You've been busy this week. This is yours. Oh, this is mine? Yes. I call it this is mine?
And with a payload of TNT that seems likely to extend the perimeter wall a little further. Doc has also added Mumbo's face to the Wither statue as a sign that he's also unwelcome in the perimeter, along with some clarifying fine print, but a bit more readable thanks to the glowing. And that's not a moment too soon, because he and Rendell notice that someone has been mining deep slate in the corner of the perimeter, and we wonder who that could have been.
And keep mining. And I've got to say, the process of mining deep slate is a little bit painfully slow because, of course,
Door
even
white.
with H2V and efficient survival my pickaxe, you still don't have instant mine, and that is something that I have grown incredibly used to over the years.
Sooner or later, someone will have to clean up this mess, and that someone seems like Pearlescent Moon, who Doc and Scar both call to the main street of Scarland to point at all the dragon eggs and shrug in meaningful ways.
Really use the complicated amount of things here. I'm trying to go to the nuclear option by just breaking ground below the blocks.
Ashley!
Just saying, though, you could have hired this anyway. Technically, Scar already has.
And finally there is Pearlescent Moon, who's actually quite happy to find herself on the Scarland payroll.
Okay then, you're definitely intended to come back here.
Hey, don't talk about my double hats, they're fashionable, okay?
She is less
Maybe
happy
the
to
key
find
I'm
that while
looking
she's
for
been
is
away
here after
cultivating
all.
snippers, digging for pottery sherds and expanding her custom landscape into a beautiful autumnal forest for the new 1.20 critters, her server mates have been illegally duplicating the dragon egg behind her back. Now, faced with this enormous mess, Pearl is grateful the community came through with some designs for automated street sweepers, which arrived with some very precise building instructions, although they were less clear about how to turn the machine off.
Are you free money to clean the machine? It's not doing too bad. Oh, okay, that's the wrong way. Oh no, that's not the right way. That's not the right way. Stop.
And that's about it for this week's recap. Our writer is LoyXP, and my name is Pixelrus.
Okay,
Captions
right.
on this video were provided by Liara. Don't forget to leave a like while you're still here, and subscribe so you won't miss future recaps. Thanks for watching,
There was a
and we'll
key
see you next
here,
week.
I remember. But I already used it. Unless there's a key back in the village that I missed. And that's what I'm supposed to use. That's absurd. Right?
You gonna sell that thing you got?
Hello, stranger. Welcome. Well then, what can I do you for? Thank you. Knife needs care every once in a while. Come back anytime.
Maybe I should max out the hand cannon. Why not?
Welcome. See how that feels, mate? It doesn't get any better than that. It's a anything else like pleasant travels.
Still very slow and unwieldy, but it's slightly less unwieldy. Slightly less slow and deals more damage. Oh, look at that guy. I wonder, am I missing something? Oh god. Ashley, get down. Why did they repopulate this area with enemies? There has to be more stuff I can get now. I'm re-exploring thoroughly. There's no reason I shouldn't. There's no reason I couldn't. Maybe in case you missed the Salazar thing. Yeah, there was treasure here and stuff that I missed. The Salazar thingy right here. Nothing but boots now. Should be on their own. No! There you are. I'm getting money, so I'm not complaining at least. I don't think there's anything new here. Just in case you decide to go back, they won't let things easy on you. In case you missed some of the things during the Gigantes. How mean. I don't remember the way back. By the way, have I mentioned this yet? But my eyes are red right now. It's really uncomfortable. Been like this since I woke up. And it sucks. Nothing I can do about it. I applied the eye drops already, but it hasn't gotten any better. This door should be open. It seriously should be. Any other way out I'm not aware of? There's a further staircase that leads up. Right. There it is. Maybe I should have followed the guide rather than relying on my own thoroughness. Also, this stair wasn't here before. It wouldn't suddenly be new places. New treasure you can just get now. Careful. Oh, El Gigante is still dead. They added the side path. That was a waste of time. Sounds like there's some monsters around here. And lag. Let's just hurry on out. Actually, maybe the key is somewhere around the ballroom. You never know.
Ballroom must be this way.
Yo.
Look, there's a statue up there.
No good. Huh. The dining hall.
Eat here? No thanks.
Have a seat.
No prob. You do a lot of missions like this?
Well, yeah. But I'm not used to having such good company.
Is that a compliment?
Take it however you want.
Leon!
Looks like we figured it out.
Yes. Just get the easiest room out of the way first. I'll go loot the rest of the area. Nice. Leave the rats below here. And then the last rat, I need to complete the Ashley section first. Ah, finally, a use for my grenades. Although I wonder if using the mine thrower will be, the mine dart will be easier.
Why not treat yourself? Welcome. What can I interest you in? Good luck to you, stranger.
I'm not actually sure if the infinite rocket launcher carries over to other saves. If it doesn't, then I'm honestly just wasting my time here. And it's a video game, it's always a waste of time no matter what. As long as you're having fun, that should be enough.
Will that come back? Anytime.
I missed the medallion. Literally right at the start. I always do that.
Take a look. Something's bound to catch your eye.
I don't have the cube yet, but
You don't get carsick or anything, do you?
You're about to find out.
don't I lose Ashley here and I don't get her back?
We're here.
So, where is the cube? Yo, what? DLC Elegant Crown, that's very cheating. Anyway, let's go get the perfect combo. Although, apparently the perfect combo is 3 reds and 2 yellows for 108, but honestly the 8,000 is very minimal. That I'd say this is still the best. Right, so I did this
It's back here.
part stupidly. I entered through that door, but it's actually better if you go up. Because then you can sneak in and attack them from above. They are so confused. You guys should really spread out. Oh my god. Their stupidity knows no bounds. That's their loss. And to the victor goes all the spoils. Actually, don't need the stingray. Honestly, I don't need this either. Where I'm going, I'd just be wasting its ammo if I decide to use it willy-nilly. Better to keep the temptation far away. The mines use up the small things, but you know, let's see if I can get more darts. Hope that was all of them. That's the only pressure left. I don't wanna bother going for those pesetas. Let's just go. I'll start with the knights. Now that I know the hand cannon just shreds through their health, that becomes the easiest way to deal.
So, at the top of Tartarus, Nyx descends onto the tower as Nyx Avatar, and she's apparently pissed because the fanbase keeps calling her by the wrong pronouns. As tempted as it is to throw Junpei in front of her, we have the battle for everyone's souls and quite arguably the best fight in the entire game. I mean, I do love the fight against Eldevel and Izanami and all, but Nyx was just better built up and has a far more intimidating and atmospheric battle, and the music only makes it better. Nyx has 14 different phases, with each representing the Arcana leading up to the 13th Arcana, Death. Now, in a usual run, you can finish most of these Arcanas in 1 or 3 turns. When you're under-leveled, however, whoo boy! I decided to stream this as I could barely record more than an hour because the memory on my computer gets full pretty quick, and here's what we discovered. So, the first phase, which is technically the full Arcana, Nyx does absolutely nothing. So at this point, just put everyone on full assault. And I clearly should have had the wiki open next to me because on the next phase, she changes to the Magician, and she attacks with her Almighty attack, which does the most amount of damage, followed up with Meraki dying. Yeah, we died on her first turn of the Magician Arcana. Now, the important thing to keep in mind is that Nyx will have 2 turns per turn, so using debuffs on her will last only 1 turn and half on the next. And since we can't extend buffs or debuffs like we could in Persona 4 and 5, there's always going to be 1 turn where Nyx will have her stats reverted back to normal before we can debuff her again, and same thing vice versa with buffing ourselves. Now, the Magician Arcana specializes in fire attacks, both singular and multi-hit. Now, you're probably thinking that the best method is to use a null-fire persona, right? Well, that's a bad idea, because Nyx also comes with Fire Break, and while it's useful to waste that 1 turn with her using that skill, you're better off with a persona that resists fire as opposed to nulls it, as the enemies never use elemental breaks on a persona that resists the attack. And when it comes to the Magician, it's pretty much an endurance battle, with us taking our health down at a snail's pace, and with the need to apply buffs, heal, and Ken only being able to heal 1 party member per turn, you can kind of see part of the issue here. I used up so many beads, and I came into the fight with only 10. The Magician phase took 10 minutes. After that, we go to the Priestess, where it's pretty much the same as the Magician, but now she specializes in ice attacks instead of fire. And yes, that includes Ice Break too. Thankfully, one of the personas I've used has Meteorama and Divine Grace to guarantee a full party heal during Makoto's turn, but we also gotta keep an eye on our SP. We got through the Priestess in 9 minutes. The Empress is the same as the first 2, but this time specializing in wind. After 10 minutes with the Empress, we go to the Emperor, which is the same as the first 3, but specializes in electric. After 11 minutes with the Emperor, she switches to the Hierophant, and here is where it only gets harder. The Hierophant specializes in her using Slash and Pierce, along with Rebellion and Revolution to boost the chances of critical damage. Bear in mind, even if we crit Nyx, it's impossible to put her in a knockdown state or get a 1 more out of it, so the most that we get out of critical damage is just extra damage. Now, it took us an estimate of 10 minutes to get past the first 4 Arcanas. The chances of us being dead or knocked down after Nyx uses 2 turns is very likely to happen.
Nice.
And after 8 minutes into the Hierophant Arcana, our party was dropping like flies, and this was the lowest I got her health before she uses 2 almighty attacks in a row. With us having to worry about healing, buffing, as well as attacking, I really don't see myself being able to beat the Hierophant Arcana. And the worst part is that during the Chariot and Strength phases, instead of buffing the critical chances, she uses Power Charge to guarantee an insta-kill. And guys, I'm not gonna lie to you, this attempt where I got 8 minutes into the Hierophant took 51 minutes in total. 51 minutes, and we're not even halfway through the Arcana shifts. I don't know about you guys, but I like my sanity and prefer not to lose a whole hour of progress again trying to make this fight possible. Now, if each Arcana took us about 10 minutes roughly, we would be here for anywhere between 2 to 2.5 hours. And once she switches to the Death Arcana, this is where the fight becomes super long. All phases has her health at 1,500 HP, and all of her stats remain the same. But during the Death Arcana, her strength and magic increases by 5 points, while the agility, endurance, and luck increases by 10 points, and she has a total health of 6,000. Now, if any of you know how the Death Arcana fight goes, you'll know that her signature move, Moonless Gown, will be a detriment in making progress. And the worst part is that Nyx resists all attacks in the game. And correct me if I'm wrong, but not even using elemental breaks helps speed up the progress. And seeing how resist damage can do like a single digit of damage with us being low leveled, guys, I could spend 3 hours just getting up to the Death Arcana, and maybe an extra 10 hours just to get through the Death Arcana due to us being severely underleveled. And if Nyx uses almighty attacks twice in 2 turns, it's practically game over, because that move can cause critical damage too. So, what does this mean? This means I am daring to release a video while refusing to defeat Nyx. That's right, I'm not going to do another attempt at this boss fight that could take half a day to complete while I have a high chance of losing every single turn. I think we would already be in contact with aliens and living on Mars by the time I make this possible, assuming I'm still even alive by then. Call me a chicken all you want, but imagine yourself fighting Nyx for 12 hours and failing every single time.
Now
So even if Nyx could theoretically be possible, I doubt this is something that even a masochist would attempt to do. Now, of course, there are a few options to consider, but they all violate the rules. Number one, I could hack a total of 99 items that I know I can grind from chests, such as beads, attack mirrors, and magic mirrors, but I highly doubt that this would make much of a difference other than get us further into the fight. Obviously, I would never grind for that long to get so many attack and magic mirrors, and while hacking them in might be justified if I prove that they are obtainable, we also need to consider that Nyx has 2 turns per turn, and only Makoto can use items. And if having both a physical and magical barrier forces Nyx to go with almighty attacks only, then our plan would have been for nothing anyway.
Let's see if that works.
Number 2, I could use the 10 plumes of dust, which I managed to resist using all throughout the run. The obvious problem here is that there's only 10 of them, and this is not an automatic win if we're only doing like a single digit of damage during the Death Arcana. Number 3, maybe if we were to do the run all over again, we could try to find attempts to give all the experience points to Makoto only by having our allies fight in combat before we defeat the bosses, or do some of the Makoto only until we can get the last 3 party members we intend to use for the rest of the run. But the sad reality here is that while we might get a higher level than 48, later levels do require more experience points to level up, so it's not like we double our chances of surviving attacks. This could, of course, give ourselves better personas and better skills to work with, but we still gotta consider how long the next fight will take, and the resources we need to save up, as Makoto will be running out of SP if he's doing everything himself. Number 4. While we may not be able to beat the game with a minimum amount of battles, maybe we could utilize the use of mandatory battles only by carrying our progress over to a new Game Plus file. What I mean by that is that we only do battles that are considered mandatory, get either the bad ending where we kill Ryoji, or use the Nyx skip glitch by starting the Devil's Social Link on the 31st of January, and we can not only carry over our registered personas from the Persona Compendium, but also Makoto's level as well, as it never reverts back to level 1. The obvious problem with this is that it defeats the whole purpose of a mandatory battle run to begin with. And if we have to do the bare minimum to make it possible, then all Tartarus Guardians would technically be illegal from a fresh file, as we can only do the Full Moon Shadows. On top of that, grinding for money in the first 3 floors of Tartarus would be frickin' hell and defeats the whole purpose of why people hate grinding to begin with. It makes all the complaints that people have with Tartarus look like a 10 out of 10 masterpiece in comparison. Now, there is apparently a glitch where you can frame step your way past the Tartarus Guardians, but I tried this myself and couldn't pull it off. Now, the obvious answer to defeat Nyx is to grind to a high enough level where you can give more damage and take less damage, while having higher level personas.
Maybe if I threw in 2
obviously,
darts instead.
that just destroys the whole point of the challenge run. So in the end, yes, you can defeat every required boss fight before you reach the Nyx fight without doing any optional battles and without using the Plumes of Dusk or a new Game Plus file. And honestly, considering how brutal most of the last Tartarus Guardians were, I think I can be happy that I got through almost all of the game while avoiding optional battles. And while there are some frustrating battles that relied on good RNG, I think this challenge run could be of good use to some runners who intend to beat the game while doing the least amount of grinding. With proper use of personas, armor, and the knockdown exploit, you can get further into the game than the developers probably originally intended. Bear in mind, some of these tricks, like the knockdown strategy, will not work in the portable version of the game. And you might have a better advantage in some fights thanks to the inclusion of direct commands in that version of the game. So in the end, it is not worth it to beat Persona 3 FES with only mandatory battles. But considering that the probable moment is literally the final boss fight, I don't see that as a complete failure. I personally don't recommend this run in its entirety, but I do recommend trying out some of the tricks I use to make these fights possible while you're still under-leveled. In the end, I still recommend grinding till your party gets tired and pushing them to the next level before they ditch you and head home. While it may be tedious and may not be everyone's cup of tea, it will make your experience far more better than just avoiding shadows and finding money from chests, which is just as bad, if not worse. I mean, if you're gonna grind for hours for chests, you might as well grind for experience points as well. And there's even requests from Elizabeth that could reward you for grinding in optional battles. All of which I had to avoid in this run and wish I could have completed. And also bear in mind, if you're grinding solo, you will actually be gaining a lot more experience points than if you were to do it with a full party. Persona 3 Fest is a game that I remember loving for its story and characters, and having a far more impactful third act than any other Persona game I've played. The story still holds up to this day, and while I never got to the ending in this run, the ending is definitely one of the most memorable moments that still sticks to me to this day. Persona 3 definitely has the best story out of the 3 Persona games, and while I consider the later games to have better gameplay, I will admit, this run made me realize how useful the tactics menu can be, considering that the entire game is built around this mechanic. While I still heavily prefer direct commands, this run helped me push beyond just using act freely and healing. The tactics in this game do work far better than a lot of us give this game credit for when you actually know how to use them. And after doing this run, I only wish that I could fight optional shadows so that way I could grind for that extra EXP that I need. So there you go. This challenge run helped me appreciate the gameplay of Persona 3 far more than I did in my original playthrough. It's still flawed, and Portable arguably has the better gameplay, but it still works. And if it's still not your cup of tea, bear in mind, we have a remake coming very soon, and I look forward to playing Persona 3 Reload when that eventually comes out. So, thank you guys so much for watching another Persona challenge run. I'm gonna try to cover other games outside of Persona, as I do want to branch out my content. If you guys want to contribute to supporting It's a Gamer, consider becoming a Patreon supporter or channel member. And a huge shout out to my channel members and Patreon supporters, including Supersonic 1014, Darkwing Spartan, and Deadshot. And be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and ding the bell for more It's a Gamer content. And remember, folks, the bare minimum may work, but putting in hard work will increase your chances of success.
I have way too many flashbacks. I'd like to keep the large resource because I still don't know what to do with it.
Come on.
No problem.
I'm tempted to get more TMP ammo because I know I'm gonna need all the TMP ammo I get when the bugs show up, but
I think we made it.
they should all still be dead. Good. Oh, you can still reload even if it's full? I didn't know that. Make me green and call me a pickle. They only just give me a statue in the game. I don't believe there's any more places to use the cubic device. in this chapter. There will still be some more, I believe. But for now, everything that needs Ashley is done and dealt with.
Come on.
Hey.
I'll play through until the end of the chapter, which means dealing with the Ashley section.
Hey, this is it.
Took care of her request, did ya? I can tell by the look on your face.
Ah, the 3-color bonus. It's a lot better. Very nice.
So that's a request done and dusted, eh? Good stuff.
Is it actually just me and Ashley stepping on the dead corpses? That's a little mean, if that's the case. Would have been funny if the El Gigante is back though. Without the armor, then you can kill it for a yellow diamond. Let's see what's in here. Oh. I don't believe there's any more locked chests once you get to the island. So yeah, once I get to the island, I won't be able to find any more keys, and I should have one key left over that I'm never going to be able to use and should just sell. Excuse me? Okay.
I see you took care of a request.
Alright, let's do this.
Well,
The Ashley section's pretty fun. I think I forgot the serpent head. Oh my fucking god. How silly. It is cool that it's an actual statue now. other than just a mural. What?
Leon, the stairs!
Stay back.
How long have I been recording now? Let me go check. I don't want this video file to get corrupted either. Because that would suck. I'll stop the recording here and then start another one. I plan to play until dinner time.